We're back. David J.
How are you today?
Good, man. How are you doing?
Good.
Get up in it.
So we're going to talk a lot today.
I want to talk. I'm game for talking.
So where do you want to start at?
I want to start with, I'm going to say in 1990, you can correct me on this, but in 1997, I was a kid, so I would have been 10, right, at the Old Hillco Parade.
You're about dead on.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So I was a kid sitting in the parade right there in Oak Hill, and I see this pipe trailer come through with these bulls and these horns sticking out, and I'm like, what is that? Who is that? And I remember, of course, brother was dating Rayanne at the time.
Right.
And he's like, well, that's David Johnson. I'm like, who's that? So then, and again, you can correct me on the timeline, but maybe 2-3 months, 6 months, I don't know, year later, we went down over below Bob and Tyson's.
Yep. That was the home place.
Yeah. The old home place. I went to a rodeo.
Yep. That's where it all started.
Yeah. So let's start there, or start wherever you want. How did we get into what sparked the rodeo?
I would say I got involved in a Western way of life, probably 5-6 years old. I watched John Wayne, the Little Cowboys.
Yeah.
And I was hooked.
Yeah.
I mean, that just from right then, and then it went on. And then when I was a teenager, it's when 8 Seconds come out. And then I was really, I knew.
This is what I want. This is what
I want to do. Watched a lot of people, figured a lot of things out. So it just escalated from there. And you know where we're at today.
Yeah. So let's start. So where do you start? Do we buy bulls first? Do we say, hey, we want a rodeo, and we're gonna put together a rodeo arena on the farm, and we're gonna throw some bleachers up, and it worked. David, I want to give you that credit. It worked.
It was a gamble. At that time, I was still living at home, and
how old were you at that time? So I was 10, 11. So
I was 15 when I started.
Really?
I think I really started building that arena down there in 96.
Okay, it may have been 96.
Yep.
It was 96, 97.
Yep. So I relied on Dad. I was just a kid. I had some money saved up, but not a lot.
Yeah.
So we built that pen down there and started having them deals, and I was making money, and it worked out perfect. And then I decided everything was homemade down there.
Yeah.
And then I decided I want to go to some fairs. So then I had to start figuring out how to get an arena that was portable.
Okay.
So I did a bunch of trading around. I like to trade.
Sure.
Traded cattle, horses, everything. And then I got an old arena. I think I gave $5,000 for it then.
For the whole arena?
For the whole arena.
How many chutes did you have in that arena?
I had 6 chutes then.
Oh, okay. So it was legit.
But they were homemade.
No, but it was 6 chutes nonetheless.
Yes, it was. And we started doing them deals, and I would do it by myself.
Pull it a little closer if you can.
I would do them by myself. So, I wore myself out quick.
So you were pulling the chutes, you were loading the bulls, you were
doing it all
by yourself.
And then I got involved with a couple other people. There's a guy in the South named Wayne Neesmith. I started helping him a lot. He rented my arena some.
Okay.
He's the one probably that got me started and started showing me how to make a living out of it, if that makes sense.
So how did you get hooked up? I don't mean to interrupt you. How did you find him? Because I imagine Google wasn't real big back then.
So he did a rodeo at Henderson's.
Okay.
I kind of knew him when I started.
Okay.
But he didn't start renting my arena until I got it. So he kind of watched me grow up. And 16 years old, he sent me with a load of horses home. He said, hey, when are these horses for me? And we won't even get into that. That turned out bad for me. Luckily, he knew me. He knew me since I was a kid. But needless to say, I had a wreck, killed some horses. It was a bad deal. I was only 16 years old.
That's what I was saying. You were 16.
16 years old. I called him, the worst call I ever made. He said, hey, are you okay? Yeah. He said, that's all that matters. Don't worry about the horses.
So there was drive and compassion and seeing you succeed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. So I kept doing rodeos with him, and then I bought another arena, a little nicer. Things just happened over the years. And he watched me. He helped me a lot, told me stuff about shows. I would meet other people. They would say, hey, you need to start doing this, or don't do this no more. This is not good. And I would just pull a little bit from you, pull a little bit from him, and I'd catch on. And then I would say all the way until Me and Kimberly got married, and she backed me 100% on all of it. She enjoyed it. I'm going to say around that 2010, I got my first WW arena, full WW arena.
I remember that.
I mean, I was happy as can be.
Yep, I remember.
That really worked out well for me. I started getting some bigger deals to rent my arena to, and I started using them at mine, and it makes everything look so much more better.
Yeah.
The quality of the show, everything moves better.
Hey guys, let's talk about one of our sponsors. We couldn't do it without them, and that sponsor is Lazy Creek Meats. We all know Lazy Creek Meats. It's owned and operated by the Fannin family, and they've been raising cattle in South Central Ohio since 1950. They are now on their fourth generation of farmers since 1950. They continue to preserve their mission, and that is to produce high-quality beef the way nature intended, without all that subtherapeutic antibiotics and without all the growth hormones. They pride themselves in being stewards of the land and giving every effort in maintaining a sustainable farm operation. They don't use herbicides or pesticides on any of their grasslands, and they utilize rotational grazing along with other best forage management practices. And that helps them optimize their hay and forage production as feedstock for their animals. All of their cattle are fed a diet of free choice grass or forage with all natural supplements of corn, soybean, vitamins, and minerals to produce quality product while maintaining the superior health of the animal. From conception to consumption, their vision is to feed the family and the customers quality beef for generations to come. Guys, look them up on their Facebook. They're all over social media. They take very well care of their farm and their animals. If you go out by their place, you'll see it's neat as a pin. And that's important stuff whenever you're consuming beef or whenever you're looking to consume beef. You want to see what kind of food that beef is eating. And I promise you, you cannot do any better than what the Fannins are doing out there with Lazy Creek Meats. So get on their Facebook page. You can order right there from it. I believe you can on Instagram too, but just shoot them a message if you've got questions. They're constantly sharing recipes and ways to cook and different things. And for all you chubbies out there that are listening, if you saw that cow tongue that we fixed here a few weeks ago, that came from Lazy Creek Meats, and I'm telling you, it was delicious. So give those guys a call or look them up on their Facebook page at lazycreekmeats.com.
So we just kind of went from there. We started getting more animals. I think in 2018, we sent stuff to our first finals, real finals, the International Finals Rodeo in Oklahoma. Took bulls to several finals before that, 2013.
So let's just take a minute. Again, I sorry to interrupt. So we've got a guy from Southern Ohio, right, with no rodeo background, with no bucking bull background. Is that fair to assume?
Correct.
Shipping bulls and his arena across the country.
Correct.
To huge sanctioned events.
Correct.
Is that fair?
Yes. That's exactly right. And like you said, I'll kind of jump around a little bit.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
So 2019, maybe in the end of 18, I'm sure everybody knows about the Cinch World's Toughest Rodeo.
Yeah.
So I had a WW arena then, pretty nice pin. Out of the blue, I figured out who owns this Cinch World's Toughest Rodeo. It was a guy by the name of Dave Moorhead out of Bernard, Iowa. And I call him. It's 3 weeks before Columbus. And I said, hey, do you need an arena? He said, well, what do you got? I said, I got a WW arena. He said, send me a picture of it. So I sent him a picture, and it wasn't 10 minutes. His boy calls me. He said, can you have that in Columbus next Thursday? And I said, yeah. If you want me there, I'll be there. He said, yeah. He said, you be there. He said, how much you charge? And I rattled off a number. I don't even remember what it was. Oh, I can't do that to you. He said, that's way too cheap.
So there was some honesty there.
Dead honest. So, and he said, I'll take care of you. So I said, well, I'll be there. And I took the arena there, set it all up. He was all happy as can be. I was happy. I'd never been in Nationwide Arena before.
Well, I don't think many can say they have. No, at least not in that regard, right?
Right. So, it was kind of a big deal for me. I try not to show my excitement, but that was something major.
David, I could see your excitement, not to hijack your story, but on a total whim that year, I'll never forget, I decided to take Mason up to it. Yep. And I called Justin and I said, hey, let's take the kids up. You remember we showed up?
I remember.
And I could just see it resonate in you.
Yep.
Just the excitement of just being there.
Amazing.
Yeah.
It was. And then, so that night we get to tear the arena down. He said, what are you doing next weekend? I said, nothing really. He said, I need this arena in Raleigh. So we went to Raleigh, North Carolina, and that was the last 2 shows that year. And ever since then, I mean, he's just kind of pushed me right along. Now, he don't own it no more. Cinch owns the whole entirety now. And that's opened up a whole bunch more windows. I mean,
I understand. I've talked to Levi a little bit, but I think Cinch owning that event has really opened a lot of doors for not only you, but your employees as well.
Correct. They take care of all of my employees, me. They also, Cinch does something called the Governor's Cup in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Me and my whole crew went out there and worked that event. It was the first time $1 million and 2 added. So that was something amazing for us to go out there. I mean, it's like the next best thing to the NFR in Vegas. So we all got to work that, and that shows how much my crew enjoys doing what we're doing too, because other people see that and they know we're capable of doing that.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about your crew. What does your crew consist of, or maybe who does it consist of? Maybe if you want to get into that.
I got 4 boys that work for me pretty much all the time during the summer, and plus Maddie. I mean, she's right-hand man as well. So, I mean, that's pretty much what they do. We do enough now that I'm their full-time job.
So full-time, year-round.
Full-time.
We're moving the arena, and I'm assuming bulls go in with that.
Yes, correct.
How often do the bulls travel with the arena? Is it
So during the summer, me and Maddie was looking at that on the way up here. Of our own shows, like at the county fairs, stuff like that, I think we counted 36 shows of our own, or performances of our own. And then with the arena leases and everything like that, we'll be up around that 60 performances this year.
so those animals are traveling?
Yep. Now, some of them we don't take all of our animals to.
Sure.
But yeah, all them animals get on the road. We shuffle them out through the summer when we're going day after day. But it's...
So what's that like, managing, of course, you know, I'm in beef cattle, and I imagine bucking bulls is a little different.
Yeah, I mean, the bulls ain't as bad as the horses.
Really?
Them horses can't take what the cattle can. You got to really work with them and trade them out a lot. So
Just move them around.
yeah, a bull. I mean, you can buck a bull every day through the summer, and he'll get a little tired, but he'll be okay. You give him a couple of days off. Now a horse, you're looking at maybe 3 times a week, and that's you're pushing the limit. So
you've got to have a higher horse ratio, I'm assuming.
yes, more horses. Or we do some stuff through the summer. We'll trade with some people. If we got a busy week, I'll bring some to this guy, and he'll bring some to me. Give our stock time off.
That's what I was going to. That was my next question. Do you lease bulls out to other events that aren't associated with your arena, arena leases?
That would be more Maddie's part. She's kind of taken over all the livestock. I'd rather just do the steel and get the production going.
Get the still released and let her
Yep.
deal with the hard part, maybe.
That's pretty much how it is.
So whenever we're looking at, be it a Columbus, what kind of timeline are we looking at to set that arena up, get it performance ready, and then tear down?
So, and that's another thing. We go back to the Moorhead. He asked me what I did when we went rodeo, and I said, I do a little bit of excavating work, piddle with it. He said, can you put dirt in this building? And I said, well, I've never done it before. He said, well, these guys are going to take it out tonight, and this was all in Columbus. He said, you watch, and he said, my guys are going to do it in Raleigh. He said, you kind of watch, and if you think you can do it, I'll have you do it at some of them deals coming up next year. So that was just another animal there that we got involved in.
So you're doing the dirt along with
Most of the shows, some of them buildings has their own crew, like
Okay.
Columbus, Raleigh, Columbia, Des Moines, Iowa. We do the dirt at all of them buildings.
So where do you get the dirt from? If you're in Des Moines, how do you find dirt?
Hey, Chubbies, welcome to season 1 of the Rural Roots podcast with your host, Creek Chubb, a.k.a. Kyle Fannin. You guys are going to love this season, mainly focused around agriculture and just anything land, okay? But we couldn't do this without our sponsors. And the first one that we're going to talk about is Bickle Insurance Services. Those guys handle everything from pollution liability to crop insurance to home and auto insurance to your farm needs, anything. The main thing is that they focus on at Bickle Insurance is coming up with a plan for you. So make sure you give those guys a call, and Kyle, aka Creek Chubb, he's going to tell you how to call them right now.
Guys, give Aaron or any of his team members a call at 740-593-7311 or at bickleinsurance.com.
You'll be glad you did.
In Des Moines, it's super complicated because, I mean, we're in Des Moines in January. Everything's froze or muddy. And we went through several different loads of dirt from different places at the beginning of that show. just to find dirt that's not mud. Because I mean, mud won't
I
work.
can only imagine. Yeah.
We've went so much as getting limestone fines and putting in them buildings instead of dirt
Okay.
to make the show right.
Okay.
And that's one thing that he pushed at me. He said, "Don't ever unload mud." He said, "Send them back." He said,
Yeah, because the mud's never going to
"Right,
dry.
yep,
Right.
The mud will never dry out and make your show horrible." And then we're on ice. You got to remember. So when you put that dirt in there, it starts sucking that moisture up out of that ice. So if it's muddy now, tomorrow, it's going to be horrible.
I never give that a thought.
Yes, I mean your own plywood
But still,
sucks it up.
yeah, it's gonna draw the moisture for sure. So even if you have dry dirt, by the time the show's done, you're gonna have some heavy moisture content. Is that fair?
Yes, that's accurate.
That is amazing.
So there's so much that goes on that people don't understand that it takes to,
Yeah, I don't
especially in them buildings. I mean, these summer deals are easy because you can just set up and do your deal.
Yeah, I mean, I've watched you at the county fair and several county fairs. I mean, you can get in and set up pretty quick.
Yep.
But I would imagine Nationwide Arena is not that easy.
So back to your question. Let's
sorry.
jump back there. So we try to get in there on all them deals in them buildings on like Wednesday and start Thursday morning putting the dirt in. As long as the trucks are coming, no traffic. If we start at 8 a.m. by noon, we're pulling the arena truck in, setting up the arena. Usually about 2 hours. We can have the steel set up. So you're looking at 6 hours maybe.
And then is there a show Thursday night or is the first
Friday night.
Sure, first show's Friday night. Okay.
The rest of the evening, we put all the signage up, lights.
I would say that
done.
takes a while.
Yes.
The signage and
It takes
for the
about the same
sponsorship.
amount of time as the dirt and the arena.
Something that seems so easy and so
Yes.
minute takes so much time.
It's really not. So,
Yeah.
and then coming out, like a lot of people don't understand what goes into that. I mean, we're working on ice at most of them buildings. You have to remember. So in Nationwide, there's like 41 loads of dirt, quad axle dump trucks that come in there. This year at 5 a.m., I was in South Bloomfield coming home. We had the arena tore down, all the dirt out of the building. I mean, and we pulled in at 5 a.m. and got
So what would you say? 10 hours ish?
Yeah, going in, I would say 10 hours. Coming out, no. I mean, we was done at 3:45 in Columbus a.m. So, and the show was over at 10:30.
Oh, wow.
Steel in, steel out. I mean, all
You're
of them
done.
load the dirt out. But, I mean, you got to work through those people. We got a good crew. Them boys know that, hey, at 6 a.m., this floor's got to be clean because they're finishing the ice again.
Yeah, there's a hockey game tonight.
Yes.
Or whatever.
They're putting a basketball floor down. So, it's
Man.
we've been put under some pressure. And this year in Raleigh, I mean, we couldn't get into the building till 8 a.m. the day of the event
Oh, my.
because they had a basketball game in there. It was March Madness.
Yeah, yeah.
So, I mean, we had to hustle that day. And we were tired when it was all done because we started Saturday morning and the performance was Saturday night.
And then did you have to tear down Saturday night?
Everything had to be out by 5 a.m.
Oh, my gosh. Did you take extra crew with you for that?
Took one extra guy there.
Just one.
Just one extra guy. But I mean, Mike, like I say, and you can talk a little bit about Maddie with this. I mean, all of our guys know what to do. They've worked for me 5 or 6 years now. I don't have to tell them.
Everyone's got a job and they know what that job
Everybody
is.
knows what to do, how everything gets set up, where we set it up. And it makes it so much easier. I mean, I didn't realize over time, the more people you hire, yeah, it's more of a cost, but it makes it easier on everybody.
I'd say it pays itself dividends, right?
Yes, it does.
Because it's going to be less headache on you.
And the quality of the show, I feel, if I have 4 or 5 guys help me, if I would do it all by myself, I'm exhausted at the start of the show. So, like, I'm already aggravated. I don't want no part of it. I mean, the quality of the show is going to be down.
So let's speak to that. So once you have the arena set up, and let's just go back to that Raleigh for an example. So you get there at 8 a.m., you set the arena up, and then you have a pretty big role in the show itself, right?
Correct.
I mean,
Yep.
you don't just sit in the stands and watch it. I
No.
mean, you're on the floor.
Me and my whole crew, we're all on the production side of it. I mean, all your specialty acts, all that stuff, working the ground during the event, making sure everybody's in the right spot at the right time. Everything's on a time at them deals. I mean, we got a sheet
Close
and
schedule.
you follow the minute. And that's where you need to be. It's broke down to the minute.
So you've got to have everything in a just precise pecking
Yes.
order.
If not, the next night, I mean, you have your production meetings. And I mean, like I say, it's a production.
Yeah.
And I even try to do that at my shows during the fair. I mean,
Yeah, absolutely.
we try to stay on that schedule. I mean, an hour and 45 minutes, 2 hours, that's our whole.
Yeah.
And we've done it long enough now that we know how to cheat this time a little bit and gain it over here.
So you can pull some time from maybe this act or whatever
Yes.
to get the bulls back out or whatever the case may be.
Yeah. Or you speed this guy up a little bit, and you know he's slow, or these next 4 or 5 guys, speed him up. I mean, make him go.
Okay.
There's angles.
How hard is it to get any act in these shows? Is it getting harder? I mean, do you see it harder to find these entertainers?
So
I call them entertainers. Is that fair?
Yeah, you're accurate. I would say the biggest problem I have is like I got some committee rodeos, and I call that as you and your dad putting on a rodeo.
Okay.
So you're going to sign that contract 3 years out probably. So I can call this announcer, this clown, and say, hey, mark this date down in your book. I want you.
Okay.
It's super hard to get these clowns and announcers at these fairs anymore, that these fairs don't want to send me a contract until March, and their fair's in July. I mean, most of my guys now are not Kyle Fannin coming to announce my rodeo. These guys do it for a living.
Yeah, I can tell that.
So, I mean, they need a year out, and it's like I'll give all my fairs, I'll give my announcer and clown these roundabout dates
Okay.
for next year.
Really?
And they'll pencil that down for me. And then say around January, they'll call me, hey, is that a go? Yeah, I'm pretty for sure that one's a go.
So a lot of that goes back to your reputation. You've been in it long enough,
Yes.
right? We've been seriously putting together, and I don't mean that in a derogatory way, but you've been seriously putting on radios for 20 years now.
Yep.
Is that fair?
Yeah, I'll give you that.
So now if you call an announcer and say, hey, I think June 15th is going to be this fair, they're going to take it serious. And I think that
Right.
takes 20 years to get to that point.
And it does. I mean, and you're exactly right. And we try anymore not to use Kyle Fannin to announce the rodeo. I'll try to get Mark Northall,
Okay.
Brant Clark. I mean, them boys that do the IFR.
Yeah.
It's different. And I try to tell that also to some of my committees. I mean, I throw you in the blind. I mean, Mark Northall knows what's going on.
He shows up, he's ready, he's
Right.
poised, he knows what.
And it's the same way with having Aaron Fannin be the clown. I mean, he don't know what to watch for, and there's more than just telling jokes. Your announcer and clown has to make eye contact. They have to know.
What's the I should have researched this and I forgot. What's the clown that you had at Jackson this year? I was so excited for him.
Dave Showtime Meyer.
Showtime. I mean, I stumbled onto this guy on TikTok or Facebook and just started watching him because he's genuine. I mean, you can tell. And I kind of researched him a little bit, seen he used to be a writer, correct?
Yep.
And then now he's a showman. Okay, entertainer. And I remember talking to Levi, and I was like, man, it'd be awesome if David could get Showtime here. And he's like, he's coming.
Yeah.
And then he showed up, and you're right. I mean, the how fluid he was with the announcer is just a show in and of itself.
Yes.
I don't want to take anything from the riders, but that piece is so important to the show. Is that fair?
You're
As a spectator.
You're 100%. So if we back up there, when I was talking about Wayne Neesmith out of Tennessee, he said, if you don't spend money on anything else, he said, spend money on your clown and your announcer.
Okay.
He said, they can cover up a bad show, and the crowd
would
would not
agree.
even realize it. And it's so accurate because, I mean, if you get a horse that's stalled or a bull that won't come out of the chute or the rider ain't ready, that's where it goes back to communicating between those two.
Yeah.
They're knowing that's going on, so they're talking. I mean,
Okay.
they're making it all and filling that time gap and coming up with something. So they got to look back and forth.
So as a spectator, we don't even realize
you
it.
don't even realize what's happening.
Okay.
And that goes all the way up. I mean, I see that at them World's Toughest all the time. I mean, there's cover-ups. I mean, and it's just like anything else.
So without, it's an entertainment act
Yes,
all the way around.
all the way around.
Not to take anything away from the bulls or the riders, but it all has its own piece to the puzzle.
Everything's got its own hole that it fits in, and it fits in perfect.
That's awesome.
So
That's awesome. So how are the riders? So again, you've been doing this for, almost 30 years.
yes.
What are you seeing in the riders? Are we staying steady, or is there as much interest as there was 25, 30 years ago? Or
The interest is there.
okay.
And I may step on toes when I say this. The try is not.
Okay.
And I said this 30 years ago when the PBR come about, everybody was breeding bulls. They wanted these bulls that just bucked unreal. And I said, we need to stop breeding bulls and breed cowboys. I said, because one day, I said, mark my words, we're going to have bulls that's not rideable. How many PBRs you watch on TV right now where they don't ride a bull? Even at that level.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the bulls are so athletic anymore. We've bred that into them over time that you can't take them bulls to rodeos because them boys, if they know they're going to come and get thrown off every time, they won't come. They will not come.
That makes sense. I never looked at it from that lens.
So when Maddie decided about bulls, me and her talked, and she said, Dad, I want good bulls. I said, do you want good user-friendly bulls? I said, because that's what we need for rodeos and bull ridings. I said,
because you want the guys to come out.
Yep.
And I want to spin this into what we talked about earlier, your riding school. So let's talk a little bit about that. What does that entail? I noticed I maybe picked up on that a year ago. How long have you been doing that?
This is, I think it was our third one we did this year.
Okay.
Lyle Sankey, he made the NFR years ago. He's an older gentleman now in his 60s, but he's got a great following. And like this year we had people from Florida, Missouri. I think there was one from New York there. And you pull some of them, you can tell that they're just coming to say they rode a bull. That's the way they can get on a bull. They don't know other ways. One boy that works for me now, he come to the first school we ever did, and I had my eye on him the whole time. He had try.
He had the want. He had the grit.
Act like he wanted to work, and he's worked for me ever since then. I mean, it's helped set the arena up, works the performance, rides a bull, everything.
Hey, Rural Roots listeners, let's pay the bills by talking about some of our sponsors. And one of those sponsors is going to be RNC Packing. RNC Packing is proudly owned by Jamie and Amy Graham, and they've been in business since 1997. That's almost 30 years down there, and that's harvesting cattle and hogs. So if you guys need some good prime or some good choice beef, that is the place to go. And the reason I say prime and choice beef is because they are one of the only facilities in the area that offer USDA grading for beef carcasses. Hey, that's pretty important. Everybody goes to the grocery store. You look at your steaks. You look at your cuts. You want to make sure that they're good. Well, these guys down there at RNC Packing, they are certified to do that. They offer complete harvesting, and they also offer retail cuts. So, hey, if you've got your own beef and you want to take it down there and get it butchered, give those guys a call, and that's going to be 740-245-9440, or you can look them up at rcpacking.com. It's real easy, rcpacking.com or 740-245-9440. Let them take care of you. RNC Packing, located in Southern Ohio. You'll be glad you did. They've got some of the best seasonings you'll ever taste. They've got some of the best meat cutters that you've ever seen in your life. You will be completely happy with your butchered beef. I promise you, you'll be glad you did. Thank you, RNC Packing, for sponsoring Rural Roots Podcast.
I mean,
so is it fair to say, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but you can live that Western life,
yes,
and make a career out of it, make a
career
living. Is that fair?
Yeah, and that's the thing too. I mean, most of the people that you're around, and that's one reason when I was young that I really liked it. Most of them's good people.
I've not met a bad one.
They'll take care of you. They'll talk to you. I mean, there's a few, just like anything else. Everybody knows. But most of them people, I mean, they'll take you right into their house, feed you, whatever. I mean, my family's the same way. I mean, you go to the house anytime.
I will attest to that.
There's so many people like that, and you meet so many good people. That's another thing.
The industry is full of that, just from what I've been around it.
And I mean, it's for up and comers. Like, I wouldn't have wanted to raise Maddie anywhere else other than around Rodeo, because I knew I could let her go play when we was having a rodeo around the camper or wherever, and she was going to be okay.
Because someone was going to look after her.
Somebody was watching her.
Someone was watching her. Yep. Yeah.
And it's that way still today. I mean, everybody knows everybody at them deals. All their kids will be playing together. Somebody will have an eye on them at all times.
So would you have any advice for someone, so a kid, 18, 19, 20-year-old, and I'll even give this plug, Tyler Charrington's little boy.
Yep.
I mean, that kid is I think he's 12, maybe he's around my boys.
He's 11 or 12.
Yeah, I mean, started on steers.
He has some try in him.
Yeah.
The little boy does. And that's one thing you got to keep. You just got to chase those dreams. I mean, people will try to shoot him down, but I feel like I'm a prime example.
You've made
don't let them shoot you down. You keep trying and keep pushing.
That's the thing. I mean, to give Michael Blakeman and I, we were talking about this 6 or 8 months ago. We were like, back in 96, 97, everyone was laughing at David Johnson.
Yep.
We were going to the rodeos. I mean, I wasn't laughing at you, but if you would have told me in 96, 97, hey, this guy's going to be putting on a cinch rodeo, it's like, okay.
Yeah.
But you're doing it.
Even
and
to me,
off
it's amazing. I never dreamed that I would make it as far as I did in rodeo.
So how much of the rodeo, in your career and your life, how much does the rodeo and the arena and the bulls, is that 100% of your time, or are you still doing some?
I still do a little bit of excavating work. Still do some stuff in the paper mill as well. I would say probably 75%.
So it's a large chunk.
It's a large chunk. It's borderline right now where I might not have to do anything else other than rodeo.
But still 75% is huge.
75% is huge.
I mean, to take something from the ground up, that it's not like there's a guy down the road doing it.
Right.
You
and
have built this.
You run that stuff, and that's another thing old Wayne Neesmith told me. If you want to do this forever, you got to remember that. Don't do a bad show here and expect for him to call you back next time. And he said, make sure you got a good crew, because you don't want these boys going out and getting drunk after the rodeo and getting in a bar fight. I mean, I'm like, well, that stuck with me. I mean, 'cause that's going to be with you forever.
Yes.
I mean, we all play and have fun, but there's a time for it.
Yeah, and a place.
And that's, I've got rid of some good boys for that same thing.
Really?
Good workers, hard workers, but they like to party. And I mean, I can't put up with that.
Yeah. Tough conversation to have, but
Yes.
it goes back to the lifestyle. Is that fair?
Yep.
Going back to having someone there to watch Maddie when she's
Right.
5, 6, whatever.
Yep. You're exactly right.
Yeah. So interesting. Anything else that I missed on that before we?
I can't think of anything right now. I mean,
I'm excited to hear this. I want to roll into the questions.
okay. Let's go.
I want to roll into these questions. So who's one person you want to hear on the show? This one person you'd like to see come on the show? And Maddie can't be an answer.
I would say, no, this is a good one. And I told you this earlier.
Yeah. Yep.
So there's actually 2 people.
Okay. I'm good with 2.
Either one I think would be good for this kind. And I'm guessing you're kind of agricultural.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So I think a lot about history and agricultural in this county. You need to talk to Jerry or Beverly Henderson.
Yep.
I think they would be real good at this.
Jerry is on my list. So not to hijack your question, whenever Pudge and I first sat down with this, I made a list, and Jerry's on. You and Jerry both were on it. To be quite frank, not to take anything from you, you were already in my contacts list.
Yeah.
It was an easy text. Hey,
Right.
let's do this. Yep. Okay. Yeah.
I think either one of them, because there's a lot of knowledge there, especially, I mean, in the Western way of life.
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, they know a lot. And there's a lot of things that Bev did, not bad, back in her time that people don't even realize.
I can just remember as a kid, I mean, I was young, thinking, what in the world is someone going to do with this huge building in Southern Ohio?
Yep.
And to give Jerry and Bev and Beth credit, I think this community takes so much for granted what that building does.
Yep.
I mean, the influx of money.
Revenue that comes in. Through
Yes.
I agree 100%.
I mean, if you catch a weekend that they're bucking horses or they're doing a ranch horse night, whatever, you go to Dakotas.
It's packed.
It is packed.
It brings so much revenue in for the whole county.
Yes.
It does.
Yes. Awesome. So what's one thing you can't go one day without doing?
I would say the one thing that I do every day, and I mean, a lot of people won't believe this, but I've been this way for years now. I thank the Lord for letting me do what I can do every day and enjoy it. And
That's awesome.
That means something to me.
Yes.
So
don't forget it.
Right. Don't
And
ever forget
be
it.
appreciative.
Yeah. He
That's
lets me do
awesome.
it.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
So,
and the last one is, what's one person you look up to or someone that you lean on to for advice?
So leaning on to for advice, talking through everything would be my family, my mom, dad, wife, even Kimberly, Madison. That means a lot to me. As far as the rodeo world, I would say Dave Moorhead from Iowa that started in that sense, because he took a gamble on me.
Are you still talking to him?
Oh,
I mean,
yeah,
I understand.
I still talk to him. He sends me animals.
Okay.
He'll send me a load of horses every year to use.
Really?
Just go through them, see what.
Does
see
he
what
still
they are.
have much involvement in the rodeo world, even though he's not involved in the cinch?
Yes, he still does.
Okay. So he's a good mentor to lean
Good
on.
mentor. I mean, I can call him at any time and ask him a question. He'll say, yeah, do this or don't do that. Don't ever do that.
That's awesome.
So,
and I know to give Kimberly credit, I mean, you can just watch it on socials. I mean, she's a huge part, and then not to take anything from her, but maybe in the background of what you guys do.
and that's the thing. A lot of people don't realize that she is the backbone. I mean, she holds us together.
Silently sometimes.
Silently,
You know,
yes.
she's not always in the spotlight, but
Right.
man, you can watch her behind the scenes.
Well, and that goes with everything. I mean, it's not always who's in the spotlight.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you look at Kimberly, I mean, Levi.
Yeah.
Levi does so much that people don't even realize.
I'm so excited.
He's my main man as far as booking rodeos, because I couldn't do it without him. I don't have
that's
time
awesome.
anymore.
That's awesome. He Great guy.
Oh yeah, a good guy.
Good guy. And he's worked for you for several years, right?
Yeah, since he was about 14. So he's just like another kid to me. All of my whole crew, I mean, they're all a little younger than me. They're just like kids.
So it makes it easier going to Iowa or South Dakota when you're traveling with almost family.
Almost family.
Right.
Yep.
Because I'm sure you guys are sharing. And if I remember right, you built a travel trailer, if you will.
Yeah, we don't take that so much of them world's toughest, but all of our deals through the summer, I mean, it's just like a house we all live in.
Right. I mean, so you guys are in the same room almost all the time.
Yep.
For several nights.
Several nights.
Several
weeks.
Right. And I just know in talking to Levi, I mean, you guys are on the road through the summer constant.
Yep.
I mean, it'll be starting up here in what, 30 days ish?
June 14th and 15th we leave, I think.
Yeah.
And we're pretty much going.
Yeah. So then we'll see you again come September maybe, right?
Yeah. So we actually, I mean, this year we was looking, I mean, we started in January this year and we'll go strong until December 1st.
That's awesome though. Man, I'm happy for you.
Every weekend.
Happy for you. I think we're all blessed and I'm happy for you. And I think you're doing an awesome job.
Yeah, we try. So like I say, it takes an army though. It's not just one person.
It does. That's awesome. What, did I miss anything?
I think I'm good. We might have to do it again sometime.
We will definitely have you back. Absolutely. David, I appreciate you coming on, man.
Thank you.
It was great.